Comet Atlas, the Vatican, and the world. Above all things, I would like to clarify that I am not making prophetic announcements in this video, but only one possible interpretation of those presented here. I am going to analyze some prophecies concerning comets, one, the first, officially recognized by the Catholic Church, and a few others later, more controversial. I cite them because they come to mind, due to the fact that I have already studied them at another time. Here we will talk about the comet named by its full name. C/2023A3, Comet Atlas. So let's get started. This great messenger of the sky will be closest to the Earth on October 13, 2024. According to astronomers' calculations, the Earth is in no danger of collision with it, but it will pass through our neighborhood if all goes well. Comets being capricious, sometimes they do not survive their passages near the Sun, they burst and disappear forever, like the promising Ison of 2013. This will perhaps also be the case for this one, or it will burst, or will be diverted, the future will tell us. This date of October 13th represents a lot for the mystical history of the Church, because it was on this day in 1917 that the miracle of the sun took place at Fatima, another important celestial event. The day I wrote this text, and created this image following an inspiration, was Thursday, January 11, 2024. It came while I was in prayer, during the hour of Eucharistic adoration in our church, and I humbly asked God, what upcoming event would be of great importance, would be a key moment to come? And an inspiration came to my mind, this comet, how will it be seen, on this day of October 13, 2024 at the Vatican? Back home, I studied the question, and the result was this image, which is possibly how this comet will be seen on the evening of October 13, 2024, around 7 p.m. Rome time. This comet will be in the constellation Virgo, representing Mary. Venus, otherwise known as the morning star, will be just to the left in the constellation Libra, a sign of justice. Now that these clarifications have been made, let's see some points that could be worth monitoring, and in connection with a prophecy of Blessed Anne Catherine Emmerich. To start, let us clarify before we listen to this prophecy, that in October 2023, the first controversial session of the Synod on the synodality of Pope Francis took place, and which must conclude during the second session, in October 2024. If we read Anne Catherine Emmerich's prophecy correctly, it is very possible that this second session will not succeed, due to an extraordinary intervention of the Blessed Virgin Mary. So here is that prophecy. I saw a woman full of majesty, advancing into the large square in front of the church, Saint Pierre de Rome, symbolizing the entire Catholic Church. She had her ample coat pulled up over both arms, and she rose gently into the air. She landed on the dome, and spread her mantle over the entire expanse of the church, which seemed to radiate gold. The demolition workers had just taken a moment's rest, but when they wanted to get back to work, it was absolutely impossible for them to approach the space covered by the mantle. End of quote. It is very possible that this time of rest, as mentioned in the prophecy, could well be this period of 1 year between the two sessions of the Synod, and that it cannot be brought to fruition and fails. This is what emerges from this prophecy, in view of current events and the growing unrest reigning within our church. Now let's look at the following prophecies, coming from the legendary Nostradamus. So let's read these. From the 6th century. Quatrain number 6. There will appear towards the north, not far from Cancer, the bearded star. Susa, Siena, Boeotia, Eretria. The great one of Rome will die, the night over. And from the 2nd century. Quatrain number 41. The great star will burn for 7 days. The cloud will cause 2 suns to appear. The big mastiff will howl all night. When the great pontiff will change country. This comet from Earth's perspective in early August will be on the far side of the Sun, in the constellation Leo, heading into the vicinity of that of Cancer, as mentioned in quatrain number 6. It will begin to undergo strong pressure from the Sun, risking breaking it either into 1,000 crumbs or into a few large fragments. This comet is possibly 10 kilometers in diameter. A large fragment of a few kilometers could very well break away, be ejected and take a slightly different trajectory from the parent comet. At the beginning of September, getting closer to the Sun, its speed is higher and higher. It enters the critical moment. It is now in the constellation Sextant, neighboring Cancer. A piece could very well be expelled further, towards the constellation Cancer, and being caught by the force of attraction of the Sun, change its trajectory somewhat, and head closer to the Earth than the original comet. September 27th is the time when the comet will be closest to the Sun. Will it survive? Ison, as I mentioned earlier, did not survive. Here is the short film of his destruction. Comet Ison, at the end of November 2013, reached the point in its orbit closest to the Sun, but disintegrated and disappeared forever, leaving only a wandering mass of icy dust. Now in this image, it is October 13th, the day when the comet should be closest to the Earth, and on the same side of the Sun as us, 71 million kilometers away, if everything follows the original plan. But if we continue the inspired scenario of the 6th and also 41st quatrain, the fragment should have now, the tail of dust turned towards the Earth, which will make us enter the clouds, from the second line of quatrain 41. And as mentioned in the first line of quatrain 6, the comet will be near the septentrion, which means near the north, and not very far from Cancer, Cancer being in the northwest on star charts. This comet will be seen very strongly for 7 days, before brushing against the Earth or hitting it. A fragment of a comet with a diameter of 5 kilometers would, if it hit the Earth, create an immense crater of almost 100 kilometers in diameter, which would be very catastrophic indeed. So towards the end of October, if we rely on this scenario, it should be very close to the Earth. Now, as I said at the very beginning, I am not making a prophetic prediction, but only an analysis of what could happen if these prophecies speak of this specific comet. We'll see it soon enough, if this proves to be an accurate interpretation of these prophecies, and if all of this comes to pass. As for the rest of the text of these quatrains, this could suggest that in Rome, many will die, and the Pope will either die, or will have to flee the invaders having conquered the region of Suzy in France, Siena in Italy, and also Eretria in Greece, and this on the feast day of the unofficial Saint Bees, celebrated on October 23rd in Italy. The 200 days prophecy of Saint John Bosco, and a few others also point in this direction, on the flight of a pope and on a war in this region. It is interesting to note that these three areas form a perfectly straight line between them. Or then, the comet would possibly cause serious damage, and many deaths in these areas of Europe, or on one side or the other of this line, on October 23rd. This is the end of this video. May God strengthen His church, pray to so many invaders and demolitionists, and may our good Holy Mother Mary cover us with all her maternal protection, for the salvation of our souls, and so that this world finds the holy path which leads to heaven. Amen. Done by Rémi de Champlain this January 15, 2024.